Welcome back to Dark Souls 2 and the Crown of the Old Iron King. We've gotten quite far with dealing with the old blue smelter demon. That was a challenge and a half, but our job is not yet done. We still have miles to go before we sleep, so to speak. And yeah, there's more stuff all the way down there that we have not yet. Well, we've already been here before. There's more stuff that we have not yet. Oh, here we go. Explored yet. This one in particular is going to be new to us. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, there's a little platform up there that maybe we could have gotten. Alright, well, this looks highly suspicious. You know what? Let's go grab whatever this is on the upper platform. I hate leaving good loot behind. Oh. Okay, well, we'll try that again. Some jumping may be required. But that was only the... So, of course, that was the... that was only the first boss of the DLC that we fought, the Smelter Demon was. So I assume we've got one, if not potentially two more to take care of. What do we got here? Strength ring. What does that do? Increases strength. Oh, you don't say. Oddly deformed iron ring increases the strength of its wearer. The old Iron King ruled over a great age of iron. The king's power allowed him to mold iron freely, as if he held sway over the forces of life and creation. I hold sway over the forces of magical swords. And looking really good while I do it. The old Iron King didn't look half as cool as I did. That's where real power lies. Alright, and we get a little bonus of dropping down and attacking from above. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Definitely worth it, I would say. And then, oh, there's two of y'all down here. A little sniping wouldn't go amiss. Just until we find our next bonfire, you know. And we've been assaulted by these guys enough that I don't feel too bad about doing it. There's another guy down there we could take out while we're at it. No, you stay up there against that wall. Oh no! You get away this time. As for you... a bit closer. The double flaming weapon, that's pretty impressive. Oh. Come on. Almost there. And we probably won't need to do this every time, but just for the first time, you know. While we're... Oh my goodness. There we are. Just while we're getting used to this new area, and in case there's any other goodies. Now this floor will almost certainly collapse. Just putting two and two together. What I'm seeing here versus what I expect to happen. Alright. Let's keep working on this guy, I guess. Oh no! Well, we're doing this. I'll take it. Alright, a couple more. Oh, if we fell through that floor, we would fall, multiple floors, which would probably not be ideal. But we do have the cat boots on or whatever, so... Oh, but we would... Looney Tunes style, falling, like, through 3 floors, you know, and then a piano falls on top of us at the end, just for good measure. Weaken a sniper. You know it, baby. Talking my language. Okay. Whoa. What was that? I feel like he's fighting somebody else down there. Oh, maybe not. I thought that was maybe aggroing him to fight his buddy, which would be pretty cool. No, he just thinks that my character model is down there, which it is not. Alright, let's even the odds a little bit. Sniper spot, indeed. Oh, gosh. Alright, well, I'm bad at not falling off things. A partisan. How fancy. Let's see, what is that? Oh, I have one of these apparently. Spear with a broad blade. Yeah, I've never heard of such a weapon before, but it scales famously with dex, so I don't know. Very cool. Oh yeah, sniper spot for sure. Now I'm assuming he can't hit us even on this ledge, even though he is a tall fellow, right? I guess we'll find out. Considering that we have to pull this lever, I'm okay with just doing this for now. I'd rather not play with fire. If you know what I mean. Because once we do this, the lever will be open in perpetuity and we can just sally forth right past this guy without even having to stop and fight him. Man, these guys, good thing they're not very smart. He could easily turn me into a pancake on the wall if he wanted to. So I'm not that high up, but to be fair, he doesn't have a head, so most of the thinking is probably not very possible. Maybe it's a commentary on society, you know? I don't know what the message is, but it makes you think. Or in his case, it makes you not think, which really makes you think. It's a recursive thing. There we are. This episode is brought to you by Bose. Get you a good one. If only Bose made Bose, then you could have a Bose. You know, Bose like the headphone brand? Anyway. Oh, he's got one as well. Alright, well, we should probably just do this one properly, I think, because he's got a ranged attack as well. Alright, he took quite a bit to take down. He is no match for us. Oh, what? Since when does he respawn? I clearly missed something. Huh. Okay, well, apparently that's a thing. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'm just gonna run past y'all, if you don't mind. Okay, chest. Oh, there's another ashy lady in here somewhere. That's what I'm guessing, right? That's why they're coming back to life. Alright, well, there's an elevator here. Maybe I could just zip right past them and not even worry about it. RIP to that chest, but you know what? Sometimes staying alive is more important than a chest, so we can always come back for it. I feel like I say that a lot, though. You know, we're skipping this for now because we can always come back for it. Ooh, a summon sign. Bonfire ahead. Try left. Are we human right now? Oh, we are human. I completely forgot. Oh, that's right. We did it at the end of the last episode because we wanted to look good. I mean, look even better than we usually look, I guess. Oh yeah. But you're an ashy lad. Alright, they said bonfire here, supposedly, right? Aha. It did not lie. Okay. Let's reset the aggro. I assume. Yes. Good. Okay. I wonder if this is one of those situations where we have... How many of those... I forget what they call... Like the things you use to destroy those idols. How many of those do we have in our inventory? I don't even remember what they're called, if I'm honest. So we picked up like 4 or 5, I think, at the beginning, I want to say. It's not a dung pie. I'm still waiting for the dung pie to be useful. Who knows, maybe this boss will be vulnerable to dung pies. It could happen. Dragon scale, no. Soul of a giant, no. Soul of Nadalia. So these souls of Nadalia are what we get as a result of using the thing. But crushed eye orb. Oh, smelter wedge. We've got 3 of them. Here we go. All right, we've got 3 to use. By the way, try item. Yeah, okay. So that's a strong hint to us to use these, right? So I guess we'll use one of them here. Sure. Yeah, so this may be a situation where the boss is going to get healed or buffed, or I'm going to get debuffed. I assume it'll just make the boss more stony, because that's what they tend to do anyway for even these other types of enemies. I can go pick that up later. And then there was one on this side as well, right? Oh, maybe even 2, which is... that's potentially problematic, because I only have 3. Well, hopefully we didn't need to save one. Oh boy. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Alright, so we're out of smelter wedges, I think. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, let's Estus up, and then let's cross the gate, I guess. Or not. On second thought, let's bring them on a merry chase over here. Pick this up. Estus. And then once they've chased us over here... Yeah. Alright, we'll just immediately Estus when we go inside. Or maybe just right before the fog gate. That could work too. Right here. And then... Here we go. I'm excited. Let's see what we got. There's a lot of bloodstains in here. Any boss but stealth? Oh yeah. Show yourself. Oh, okay. Fume Knight. Ooh. Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. I like the armor. That's a really cool outfit. Super duper cool outfit. Okay. Okay, so now we know that the type of enemy that we're rolling with. We don't need a bow, so let's take that off. We probably should have magicked up our weapon before we went in. I think because we're in the end game, I'm just going to take off the covetous silver serpent ring whenever we fight a boss, because it's not, like, super necessary. And probably also this stone ring as well, because we're not going to stagger a boss, right? So what would be good to throw on? This Flynn's ring gives us straight up, you know, damage increase to our Uchi. That seems pretty good. Now, after the whole dragon fight, I realized, in retrospect, I could have put on this bracing knuckle ring +2, slows equipment degradation. That probably would have been 1,000 times easier than me using the repair spell. But I don't know how much he's going to wreck my my equipment, so if it turns out to be an issue, I'll throw that on. But for the time being, I'll just do a straight-up steel ring of protection. It's kind of a good, you know, all-around item. I'm going to take off the mask, as cool as it looks, because I want something a little bit more resilient. So I'm going to use this Vengarl's helm. Gets me 46.6%. That seems okay. That seems okay to me. Alright, do I have time to... Oh, shoot. We'll not do that. Never mind. I'll remember that next time. Alright, fortunately, I do get the opportunity to magic up, so that's a plus. Just a quick little cheeky hit on him. Oh, he's got those slow attacks. Whoa, okay. Okay. Tough guy, huh? Hey, what's up, guys? This is Future Odyssey coming into you live and in color, and we are going to do a little bit of a director's commentary for the rest of this fight. So the deal is, it seems like at least once a Dark Souls playthrough, there is one boss that is so tough from a timing perspective that it really takes all my concentration just to beat it and not die, which I'm not always very effective at, and so the commentary is somewhat lacking. So that was Manus for Dark Souls Remastered, and it is Fume Knight for this playthrough, probably to no one's surprise. So I'm just going to talk a little bit over this. I've got my drink here in hand. I'm just going to kind of give a bit of a commentary on what happened, what I was thinking, different strategies, and hopefully you all can enjoy a little bit of a fresh approach to a very tough boss. So I ended up doing a lot of different variations in terms of loadouts, from swapping out different rings and experimenting with equipment loads and trying to sort of ascertain the correct balance between damage output and defense. All the while trying to be patient enough to sort of learn the timing and the move sets, which is challenging in itself. So here we start to see my first realization that keeping him over near this Ashen Idol was, in fact, healing him. You can see his health goes down there and it's about to go up again, just like that. So I realized that. But it actually doesn't become too much of an issue for the rest of my attempts. Fortunately, the arena is wide enough that I can more or less just sequester him to one side, and healing never really becomes too bad, which is good, because I didn't have enough smelter wedges, of course, to take out the last Ashen Idol. And I think strategically I picked the correct Ashen Idol to leave running, because it's kind of natural to keep them here towards the back right of the arena. Yeah, that side swipe attack, that horizontal swipe, was probably one of the tougher attacks for me to learn from a rhythm and a timing perspective on how to overcome, simply because it's usually preempted by two quicker strikes, which I'm able to typically able to dodge in rhythm, in time, but then the third one comes in slow enough that it really has to make you think about where you want those iframes to trigger. And if you just are rolling in rhythm, you are going to get punished every time by that. And over the course of these attempts, you're going to see me get hit by that more often than probably any of the other type of attacks. Stamina management is a very real issue for this particular boss. Fortunately, I put in enough into endurance that it never feels like I am not equipped to deal with it. It's just that sometimes I don't manage it correctly, if that makes sense. In other words, it's not as if I don't have enough stamina to defeat him. It's more that I need to learn from a resource expenditure perspective the correct amounts to use. So typically I've got enough for about like 2 rolls, maybe 3, and then 1 to 2 attacks. And so balancing those all together has or became a regular part of what I was sort of looking for. So for this next attempt, I decided to switch it up and to go back to the Archdrake robes. And I believe on this particular attempt, what I had done is I had actually thrown on the Ring of the Giants +1 to see if poise helps at all. I think ultimately what I realize is that it doesn't help. That especially his horizontal swipe attack is going to knock me over no matter what, regardless of any kind of poise that I may have. I would be very curious to know whether somebody who's equipped with like a hovels set or something equivalent to that, whether, you know, somebody who's predicated around just huge amounts of poise and strength, whether they also would get knocked down. I would assume that that's the case, because that's probably part of the point for this boss. I get the impression that he's not somebody that you really block so much as run for your life. So fortunately we have this Vengarl helm, which is probably the best one in terms of sheer overall protection. And so I decided to run with that for a while. In this one, I believe I threw on the... I switched back to the Mask of Judgment, as well as the Ring of Steel Protection +1. And that was an interesting dynamic for me to kind of sort through, balancing damage output with sheer defense as well. And I think what I ultimately came to realize is that armor and the defensive capabilities themselves didn't really matter as much as stamina management and learning the rhythm and the timing. So potentially the Ring of Steel Protection may have caused me to lose 40% of my health bar versus like 50%, but that 10% difference really didn't move the needle all that much in terms of how it affected my my survivability against him. So I think I ultimately decide that is not the best use of a very precious ring slot. So at the moment, as far as rings go, speaking of which, obviously the Ring of Binding stays on, otherwise I would probably be at negative health with the number of attempts I had with him. And the other ring that I kept on the whole time was the Chloranthy ring, because of course, no surprise, stamina is king here. In the same way that people say the best defense is a good offense, in this case the best defense was a good roll. And so Chloranthy came in very much handy. So I was glad to have that. Another interesting move that he has is his sort of revenge riposte, is what I'm calling it. So if you are in close proximity, typically to his front, and have landed 1 to 2 hits, he can sometimes use that sword, that smaller sword in his right hand, to kind of give a quick horizontal revenge slash or riposte to you. And that's something that really the only way to overcome it is to only hit him once, and from a damage output standpoint, that's hard to justify, because taking him down one hit at a time is really hard to sustain the concentrated needed to make that a viable strategy. So I think what I eventually end up doing is just getting in a minimum of 2 hits on him no matter what, even if that means I'm taking that revenge slash from him, because I can usually find out or find a opportunity or a break in which to Estus up, and so it becomes sort of an acceptable trade-off of continuing to reduce his health in a timely manner, while also finding ways to stay survivable. And that little slash is not... I can usually take about 2 of those before I start to get concerned, assuming that the rest of my dodging is successful. But of course, that's a very big if. Another thing you'll notice is that usually I'm coming in with magic weapon up and running each time. Since the magic weapon just is, even though I don't have the opportunity to re-magic my weapon all that often throughout the runs, it just ends up being valuable for getting down like that first 25% of his health. And so I think for most of all these runs, I do that right before I get close enough to make him rise up out of the earth, and so that was helpful. And so here I'm seeing the second phase for the first time, and that is very intimidating, especially since I was not expecting it. I mean, I probably should have expected it, given that bosses like this, who are very challenging, typically have another wrinkle up their sleeve, whether it's like a I don't know, a buddy that they bring in, or they sprout wings somehow, or whatever it is. But yeah, that really slow burning horizontal slash. It's all about the horizontal slashes for this guy. That is tough to get through. So one tough thing about the second phase for this guy is that well, I guess it's pretty obvious, but you don't get to it as often as you do the first phase, right? But I say that because it's harder to learn how to react when you don't have as many practice reps with those flame attacks. By the end of my experience with the Fume Knight, I'm pretty comfortable with phase 1. I may have 1 or 2 missteps, but more or less I kind of get the timing down pat. But I'm even at the very end, as you'll see, of the playthrough, I'm never 100% comfortable with phase 2. And I'm sure that's just a sort of a personal preference. There are probably those for whom the particular attacks in phase 2 are a lot more telegraphed, and so it's easier for them to learn how to deal with. But for me, just the straight kind of Artorias style, and there's a lot of things I could say in terms of comparing this guy to Artorias. Just the sheer Artorias style, slashing and dodging and two-handing and all that kind of basic stuff. That was easier for me personally to learn than the phase 2 magic-y fire phase. I think part of becoming comfortable with this boss is, and really it seems like with a lot of Dark Souls bosses in general, is not letting their intimidation factor limit you from dodging close to them. I know it sounds, it may sound obvious to some, but I think because of either whether it's their aesthetic or their reputation or just the sheer number of attempts that you've had with them, the temptation can be, well, the best way I'm going to survive this is by dodging as far away from, the entity as possible. And really, what ends up being most successful with the Fume Knight is learning which attacks are most conducive to sort of counter-rotating dodging around him. And that goes not only for like the proximity to him, like how close you're dodging to him, but whether you are dodging with the attack. So for example, if you're looking at him and he's swinging from your right to your left, my natural inclination is to dodge with the attack to the left as well. But for especially those big overhand attacks with the heavy sword from on my right side, his left hand, I think ultimately what I found is that dodging into those attacks across the body ended up being more effective because it allowed me to counter-rotate behind him and posture myself for not only for a couple of attacks, but also because he has to take the time to turn around typically to face me for his attack sequence. That allows me an opportunity to regenerate my stamina, which, even if it's just for a half a second of stamina recovery, because I'm recovering stamina fairly fast in my current build, that ends up adding up quite a bit. So one thing that I never really gained a firm grasp of is at what point he goes from phase 1 to phase 2. So, and that's one of the things that made it so kind of difficult and unpredictable, is that it was never really clear to me whether it was sheer damage output, for sort of a percentage of the health bar that would cause him to transition to phase 2, or whether it was from a sheer, seconds, like X number of seconds or minutes into the encounter, he's going to transition to phase 2 no matter than what, or if there's some other, sequence of preconditions that would lead him to go to phase 2. So that gave me a little bit more of a sense of urgency, because if it was a timing precondition, then obviously I would want to get him as hurt as possible before transitioning to phase 2, so that I would have to spend less time in a phase that I was already not super comfortable with. And so I think you'll see that I start getting a bit more aggressive in trying to find opportunities to deal damage earlier on in the fight. Obviously, the sheer number of attempts that I went through on this guy initially made me more cautious, but then I think I came back around full circle to being very proactive in dealing damage as quick as possible to ensure that phase 2 would not outlast me. Especially because so many of his attacks in phase 2 are either a one-shot, like his flaming balls of death, or just come in quick succession and can take you out without as many telegraphed indications as there are in his phase 1 attacks. So during one of these runs, I think it might be this one or the next one, I kind of hypothesized, well, maybe I should try to find more ways to increase my my flame resistance. Yeah, so right here, I believe I'm wearing the Mask of Pharaohs. So because of the crying eyes of the mask, basically giving you a perma-wet condition. My theory was that it would be more helpful in, if not, outright reducing eliminating the fire damage, it would at least reduce it to a low enough level that I would be able to have a chance to heal, and it wouldn't just be a total one-shot situation. But again, just the sheer damage from those phase 2 attacks, I don't think it really mattered all that much in the end. So you'll see I have the Mask of Pharaohs, Archdrake Roads have decent, elemental and magic resistance. But honestly, I think that I could have worn pretty much anything that kept me under that 50% load and would have ended up with about the same result. So I don't think that had a huge bearing. But, I mean, that's part of the Dark Souls dance, right? There are some situations in which your equipment load does make a very real difference, like which piece of armor can actually give you a significant advantage. Take the Smelter Demon, especially the original one in the first Iron Keep run, for instance. Having that Ring of Regeneration, and I think I ended up throwing on like the Flame Resistance, Flame Quartz Ring or whatever. That ended up really giving me a ton of survivability that I needed to outlast the Smelter Demon's passive fire damage. But in this particular situation, I honestly just think the real key is just keeping it light and giving yourself the best chance to be able to roll at an optimal tempo. Now here's an interesting one. So at this point, I mean, the comparisons to Manus in terms of my personal experience are very close in the sense that Manus is the one that I definitely by far had the most attempts with. Was very frustrating. It had a lot of brainstorming in terms of what I could do to sort of mitigate the effect. And so what I have on here is the Blossom Kite Shield, which similar to the what was it called? The Grass Crest Shield, I think it was, from Dark Souls 1, that provides passive stamina regeneration as well. So I kind of reconfigured my loadouts to accommodate this, and that's exactly what I did for Manus, if I'm not mistaken, is just, the shield itself, is not going to give me hardly any kind of damage reduction that's going to be very effective. And so the best way to make use of its effects is just to throw it on my back and continue to two-hand my primary weapon. The other stamina regeneration tool I guess I could have used was the Green Blossom, but I think I only had about 6 or 7 or so in my inventory, and with the rate at which I was dying to this guy, my thought was I'm going to run out of these well before I learn his moveset well enough for them to make any kind of meaningful difference. So I think the combination of the equipment load, B, the Chloranthy Ring, and C, the Blossom Kite Shield ultimately gave me the best chance for stamina recovery to make the most for my rolls. And honestly, even more important, make the most of the in-between points for the regeneration. Because even getting an attack off on him and then rotating kind of a quarter away around his body, just those couple steps would effectively regenerate enough stamina that would be more or less equivalent to a roll or a strike, which gave me that little bit of extra, if not edge, at least breathing room, so that I could make a mistake and not totally suffer the consequences as fully as I could have. Yeah, so this is an example, perfect example you could see here of me adopting that sort of counter-rotating dodging strategy in some cases. So not only staying close to the body, but in some potential right-hand swings, counter-dodging through the attack to kind of keep orbiting him as much as possible. And I think that ended up that the confidence that I gained from learning how to do that as effectively as I did gave me a lot of the juice I needed to get through phase 1 more regularly. Yeah, phase 2, man. It was very difficult for me to learn, I guess, just through sort of the excruciating trial and error, which attacks can be dodged into or through, and which ones you have to run away from like a bat out of hell. And I ultimately ended up deciding, beyond a shadow of doubt, is that the one in which he plunges his sword into the ground and the flaming balls of death rotate around him like so many asteroids in the asteroid belt. That one is effectively just a one-shot on you if you get hit. And so there's no real dodging through that. I mean, you could dodge through the fire and the balls of death themselves, but there's no point in staying close and trying to punish him for any kind of spell casting. So I ended up more or less just untarget locking from him and running as quick as I could, just to sort of make sure that distance was kept between us as much as possible. But again, because there was that one sword into ground attack that I just mentioned in phase 2, and that was about 25% of his possible attacks in phase 2, right? It seemed like it was the horizontal slow fire flamethrower. There was the double diagonal slashes over his left and right shoulder. That was his second type of attack. His third type of attack was like the forward thrust, and the fourth attack type was the sword into the ground, balls of fire type of attack. Because that 25% of them are undodgeable, one-hit kill type of things. It made me a lot less comfortable in knowing when I could stay close to him to sort of punish him for his resting stamina recovery periods in between attack patterns. So I'm especially proud of this particular run here, just in terms of how I've really improved in my aggressiveness and my timing. And it's very interesting seeing, even looking back on it now, just sort of my development from the hunted to the hunter, right? At the beginning, it was more me fearing the unknown and not knowing what kind of damage this guy was going to output, and thinking, oh man, if he hits me with that big old flaming sword, he's going to one-shot me. But there comes a point where I end up wanting him to attack me more, because I know the attack pattern so well at this point that when he doesn't attack, it's actually removing opportunities for me to get possible damage in on him, and I'm really looking to finish the fight as quick as possible. Yeah, so that's one that I can dodge through, which is good. And the sword one, I can sort of deep target, and yeah, and I dodged that one pretty well. That thrust, that's more or less a replication of his one from phase 1, so that one was easier to figure out. The flamethrower, not as easy, and the diagonal slashes, for whatever reason, especially that delayed third strike, that was very, very tough to get from a timing perspective, or even to remember, because a lot of this is just rote memorization, right? was pretty disappointed there. So now that we're starting to get into the end game, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about comparisons. I think that, to no one's surprise, you know, Fume Knight is kind of the Artorias of Dark Souls 2, and I think what both of them share and why they're probably such good fights is they're fair. I mean, they're very tough. At least they were tough for me. I'm sure more skilled players got it much quicker, but for me, they never felt unfair, and that was the thing both with Artorias and with even Ornstein and Smaug earlier on, is that their movesets are totally learnable, and there's no sort of immunity gimmicks or any type of condition that made me think that this was a totally unfair fight. Each time I died, I knew exactly why I died, whether I had mismanaged my stamina or my healing, or I'd gotten a little bit too aggressive. And that's what I really appreciate. I appreciate a boss where I can blame myself, right? Because the temptation is to find justification in the game of, oh, well, that hitbox was off, or, you know, they don't give you any time to heal, or there's some kind of extra permutation like toxic or poison or something that kind of ruins it for you. But just the simplicity of a really skilled martial character like Artorias or like Fume Knight in a very simple arena, and not to mention the soundtrack for both of them being really outstanding. That is just, to me, the most enjoyable part of the Dark Souls experience. Obviously, the stuff like the dragon fights are really, really cool. They're very cinematic and theatrical, but this is the one that's I think has been most satisfying to me, just from a skills or a developmental perspective, of being proud of how I've learned to adapt and overcome from, you know, the skills that Dark Souls really teaches you to value. And I think this will be one of my proudest Dark Souls accomplishments yet. And this is where future Odyssey will leave you guys. Hope that you have enjoyed this fight, and the conclusion of this fight may even surprise you a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. I was certainly surprised at the time, but thanks for listening to my director's commentary, and enjoy the rest of the show. There we go. No phase 2, baby. Let's go. Oh my gosh. This guy. Wow. Ooh, whoa. I didn't even know that was possible. That's the first time we've gotten as far as we have, and he never even got to phase 2. Oh my gosh. Guys, that was a fight and a half. A brilliant fight, but I'm so tired. Absolute madness. Absolute madness. I can't even... Words fail me. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break from Dark Souls for today. I've been at it for a while. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. But Yeah, let's grab this. Sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. We beat this guy. He's in the rearview mirror. Honestly, I'm too... I've gotten to the point where I'm too tired to even feel relieved. I'm just... It's over now. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was frustrating, but not in an overly, like, unfair way, you know? Just... Crown of the Old Iron King. There we go. We got it. Man, I think this is a perfect place to pause and rest. I need a rest. You probably need a rest after watching this, I would think. So many deaths, but good vibes now. Good vibes, and I am stoked to see what happens next. Some people have been saying that I might have missed some content here and there, so what I might do is just jump on a quick wiki just to make sure I haven't missed anything, both in the Crown of the Sunken King and this current one, and then we'll just go from there. But if we're more or less good to go, or if it's like all co-op stuff, you know, which obviously I am not, then it'll be on to the Ivory King, the third and final DLC. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.